Tune in to Heel of the Ring podcast on the Sports Jedi Network channel. May the sports be with you. Because I am the hero the Sports Jedi deserves, but not the one it needs right now. Long live Lexus King. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Sports Jedi Network. It's your TNA review and recap here on the Sports Jedi Network. First and foremost, let me say what's going on. What's to my partner, Chris? We just come off the watch along. How are you, Chris? How you doing after that watch along, man?
I'm good. It was an okay show again of TNA Impact. They're getting ready for tomorrow's Emergence live show, which is always a good thing for TNA. It's always a good thing to watch their live shows. But I thought it was okay. The show flowed all right. There was nothing really jaw dropping or crazy. It's just they're just building up for tomorrow's show, which I think more of the magic will happen. But I thought the show was okay. Nothing really crazy came out of it. Wasn't bad. Wasn't great. It was good. It was okay.
No, for a go home show, it was good. It was, you could say, safe. They went in the
Safe.
safe
That's a
route,
better word to use. Yeah.
but they sure opened up hot. They show Moose getting attacked. They didn't show exactly, at least for our end, maybe when we went live, when we put the TNA Plus app, when we went live, we saw Moose on the ground, assumed to be attacked by Trick Williams and First Class. But then the system comes out seeing their guy Moose being attacked, being injured, possibly. They were hot. And that translated right into the ring. The system, Eddie Edwards, Brian Myers, and JDC were out there for vengeance. And we get the show opener, Trick Williams and First Class, and the new First Class with Rich Swann. First and foremost, we want to say get well soon. Speedy recovery. Surgery went well for our guy, Casey Navarro. Recupérate, mijo. I know you're going to come back better than ever. We know that. We definitely can't wait for that comeback for Casey Navarro. But right now, Rich Swann steps in. You saw that last week. Boy, I never seen the system work so elusively quickly, fast, and with a purpose, which I got invested because they're trying to avenge their boy, their guy, the standard or the franchise, excuse me, standard is Mike Santana, the franchise of Moose, and they went out there and they did what they had to do. JDC doing some moves off outside, and Brian Myers worked quickly. Eddie Edwards with the dive. So that was a great matchup there. I love the way they opened up immediately. Brian Myers using the schoolboy roll up with his feet, and Rich Swann actually gets the pin on the schoolboy roll up with his foots on the ropes. I read that. I said that backwards on my notes. I got it here. And of course, Rich Swann gets the victory. Welcome back to TNA. Rich Swann picks up a victory in the 6-man tag. I can't complain about it because that was very entertaining opener.
Yeah, they needed to start that off. Kind of hot. It was kind of a. Obviously that was the main event. We thought that was the main event. They said that was going to be the main event. So, they started off a really good match in the beginning of the show, which is always good. But they started off hot. With the system going out there and straight up attacking First Class and Trick because they attacked their boy, they attacked Moose. So it was good that they started out that match off hot. I thought everybody got their spots across, but I thought the finish was right. Rich Swann coming back gets the pin. And obviously he's the heel. First Class is, they're essentially the biggest heels, the most hated people, one of the most hated people, at least on that roster. So him getting the pin the way he does makes total sense. The ref didn't see it. And I think I said this earlier in the watch along where it was like, why is Trick keep aligning himself with First Class? Really kind of keep doing that. I understand it a little bit. They kind of watched his back in NXT, came out of nowhere. So he's kind of doing the same thing for them over here. So I don't mind it. I thought, again, they opened it off really, really strong. And I thought the finish made perfect sense considering, who got the finish.
Yeah, like we said, Trick Williams needs some allies in that TNA locker room. Everyone side-eyeing him. You don't belong here. You're not our champion. So you gotta go. And why not endear himself to a pig man in AJ Francis? This guy was a NFL lineman. You that's the guy you want in the trenches with you, if you know what I mean. Yeah, I like the victory. I enjoyed what's going there. And let me ask this question. Could TNA knew that this was 3 weeks in advance or 2 weeks in advance taping? I think they swerved the know-it-alls that want to spoil and put down the match placement. You get a lot of those guys that they love to tweet early. This is the match placement. We know this. WWE's going to open up with this. And PLE's going to open with this, and this is the match card. The TNA changed it. If you go there and see, oh wait, let me see oh, this is the spoiler that people put out, and they changed the match card. Remember, it's tape. They could manipulate anything there, and they did advertise that as the main event. Whenever you want to showcase your TNA World Champion in your main event, and they switched it with the Hardys, which was I totally like. You know what? I'm for it. In a world where everyone wants to spoil everything, even though this is a tape show, you got to swerve. I'm okay with it. Second match on the card was some TNA knockouts. It was the TNA knockouts. First time I got to see them, Marley Grace and Haley Hudson teaming up, taking on Danny Nuna and Indy Hartwell. Now, when Indy comes out, Indy's I always call the people's champion with my interaction with her in NXT, going to the 2.0 days, seeing her at the Performance Center. She was one of those that would always go and give high fives to the fans, always says hi to people, very endearing to everyone, all yada yada. She did that in TNA, bringing that custom, that good custom, good habit. But there was a weird looking lady or person that gave it with a hood covered up, and we're like, who the hell is that? We knew it was. We saw it immediately. But the match, Danny Nuna was the workhorse in the match. She worked it, and Indy was the clean. Was it the Chris? No, we understand why these ladies, Grace and Hudson, are under like kind of developmental contract getting there. I thought they were a little nervous. You could see that maybe that was their first, televised match that they're going to be seeing. I know they've done Explosion, part of TNA, but part of them TNA Plus, where we're going to see them on Thursday night. All in all, they looked the part. Harley Hudson looks like she checks the box there. Marley Grace, they're going to be a force in that knockout division years to come. It's not their time. They're just getting their feet wet. To us, right person won, especially Indy Hartwell just came in and she just took care of business. She just went in, and rightfully so. If you're booking her strong, that's going to be possibly next in line for that knockouts title down the road, maybe Bound for Glory, whatever. That's what you need to keep Indy Hartwell. And well said, well done. Your thoughts on the match and the outcome, and then we'll talk about that mystery person, because that mystery person makes an impact.
Yeah, I thought the match was good. I thought it was really short. I didn't think it was great. I didn't think it was, it was short. I think they just, made it for Indy to kind of get over. I like what they did with Rosemary, what they did out there. Because me and you both caught it right away. I don't know if obviously the announcers didn't catch it, or they're not really going to say anything, leave it for later, but we caught that right away. But no, it was okay. I mean, it was good TV time for all ladies, but the match really it was short. It wasn't much. Everybody got a couple spots in, and then Indy got the finish. I mean, it wasn't anything special, but it was a good showing for the ladies for sure. The knockouts they've been really knockout heavy the last couple of weeks on Impact too.
Yes, indeed, absolutely. And by the way, Rosemary returns, gets that mist in the eyes of Indy Hartwell. Now with if they're still going the long way with Indy to that knockouts title, which is there's nothing to rush. Slow and steady sometimes works. It works in professional wrestling. Though some companies want to rush things, they want to hug things out quickly. Where this one here for Indy Hartwell, the knockouts opportunity, slow and steady. She just got a company, let it go nice and easy. I like that they went that route. Is going to be probably Rosemary, Indy in a program coming, maybe after Emergence into Victory Road and so forth. I'm okay with that there. Let's talk about that. They show, I know we're jumping a little chronological. We saw Indy taken back to the backstage, getting treated with the doctor with the green mist in her eyes. We saw by herself there, one and only Danny Nuna, and Jody Threat first goes to her side. See, she's okay, but Jody Threat's got to work a little bit on her acting skills. Just a little bit. It was just a little. It's like, hey, I'm not going to criticize it. You know what? They're giving her TV time. She's making the most out of it. Here comes Danny Nuna. They're at the end of the day, what I got of it, those two Spitfire are heading into collision to fight one another, to get one another, and Indy Hartwell's like the sandwich in between. And I don't know if Indy's going to step back and say, you guys, ladies, I figured out I can't be friends with neither one of you because you guys are fighting over me, or something's going to happen there. But it looks like we're getting into that where it's going to be Danny and Jody Threat going to go blows. Like, it's going to get nasty soon.
I mean, I want to see that. Obviously, I don't really think they need to. I don't think this is them fighting over Indy. I kind of just think, Jody was there checking on, and that kind of led to something else. Because they've kind of been teasing this, and them two have kind of been going at it for a little bit now. We haven't seen him being a tag team forever. I just think kind of maybe Jody, with the idea of of her tag team partner, obviously teaming up with somebody else, which she just did. Maybe she feels a little bit jealous, or she whatever it is, but these two could have a good match. It's one of those things on the card with the Knockouts division that doesn't involve the title that you could do on your shows or on your premium live events, pay-per-views, whatever. For example, like we know with the Knockouts division, they literally have every single one of their fucking tag teams in the title picture, in the title match, and then you have a double champion, and you have basically your well-known knockouts in that. So if you want another story on the card involving to give your knockouts time, this is it right here, and I think it's good. Again, we haven't seen them Spitfire in a while. I think Indy could say, hey, you guys figure this out, whatever, but I think Indy's going to be, I think she's focused on other things. I think the outcome maybe of the match between JC Jane, and I know it's at Heatwave, but maybe that outcome will determine kind of Indy's, if they keep pushing Indy, maybe she'll get the next shot if that title does indeed come to TNA. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe she'll fight JC Jane. Who knows? It could work. Babyface heel, Indy going back to NXT, whatever. That could be a thing. So, but as far as Spitfire, like I said, you want to add another knockouts, 2 knockouts to the card that doesn't have a championship, but you can tell a good story. That's fine. I don't mind this.
Yeah, I can see what you mean. Remember, Tessa's returning. We probably see Tessa.
She's gonna have that match with Gia Miller. So
Gia Miller, or she's also got Victoria Crawford. They could go. They could span out. They could span out for those knockouts titles as well. So we don't know. We're getting some more. They're revamping their knockouts division. Everyone's complaining or saying, what did the knockout division done lately? They just lost a top-notch talent in Jordan Grace, Deanna Praza before that, Chelsea Green, Mia Yim. They had a lot of knockouts, and now they're retooling. So slowly but surely, they're retooling. But they're sprinkling the NXT women to help tell those stories. Yes, because you don't want to burn each other and start wrestling each other, and then you're not going to give us a hoot of the division. You don't want to burn out matches. You want to keep that going. You want to keep the candle burning on both ends. One thing that I like when it comes to burning the candles on both ends is that imagine Indy Hartwell going back to the Performance Center as a TNA competitor, trying to take on JC Jane. The Performance Center, I've told you, it's an endeared place that loves Indy Hartwell. Indy Hartwell will go over so super beloved by the crowd in NXT to see her back. And she, even to cut promo against JC Jane, holy shit. Yeah. Because that's what Indy means to NXT. I know that her run and don't judge her by her run in the main roster, but her run in NXT, she is loved over. And she goes back trying to win that TNA. She'll get that whole Performance Center behind JC Jane. Even if she tried to go for both titles, I think the crowd will go crazy, and she will be. It's literally a people's champion for Indy Hartwell. We'll see. We'll see if they pull that trigger. Only time will tell. That less later down the road. Let's talk about this Order 4 matchup there. This one, you had John Skyler taking on Always Ready Matt Cardona. Back and forth matchup there. Matt Cardona defeats John Skyler. Pretty good matchup. None of these matches was not overbooked or over long. They kind of finished. Some might finish a little earlier than we thought, but I thought the match flow and the timing of the matches were really good. But he gets after the match. Cardona gets ambushed again. All Jason Hodge, Mustafa Ali comes out with a smile, but his secret agent Zero comes in, the enforcer, with a tree slam on Cardona. I thought it was like, I don't want to see Cardona go. I want him to stay in TNA. I was like, hopefully they don't write him off with an injury. It wasn't that severe where it looked like he was hurt. Cardona, I think Carlos Silva and Creative likes Matt Cardona and they like working with him. So I think he's going to stick around personally. I hope Matt does stick around with TNA. I don't want, hopefully he sticks around with that company for a while. It's always ready because I don't think he's officially a TNA wrestler. I think he's on a paper contract or paper appearance when it comes to TNA. I kind of want to see Matt Cardona make that his home. They even tease about him. Could he be one to bring the TNA title back to the fold? We all want Mike Santana, but they, the announcement said that as well for Matt Cardona. We'll see where that goes. Cardona needs some allies, Chris. Could it be the good hand? Could it be the system or what?
I mean, it could be. Obviously they teamed up at Slammiversary, Brian Myers, all them. I just don't understand why. So how did Ali go from Joe Hendry to Matt Cardona? Unless they didn't tell us that. Unless I thought we were gonna get some type of feud or long-term thing with Joe Hendry. Maybe it's just a match for TNA. So maybe I'm wrong on that one. But I like it. Like I said this about Ali, and I don't mean to make this about Ali because I think the match with Cardona was fine. Again, it wasn't long, it wasn't special. Cardona got a good pop.
Huge pop of the
night. He got over, but the outcome's really, what I want to talk about. Because Cardona, like, he's been doing good stuff, but really with Ali, right? Like I talked about this last week when we did this show. It's like Ali should be in that world title scene at some point. So if this is him going after different talent, like good talent, and beating them, like Joe Hendry, Matt Cardona, like maybe this is just him building his way up to the top to get that title scene. So I'm okay with that because I said last week we shouldn't count him out. I know we obviously want Santana and Joe Hendry's in there, but Mustafa Ali is another good person that could be in that role too. So maybe just to build him up again. Good match. It will be a good match. Obviously, him and Ali, they've done it before in Indies, all that other good stuff. So yeah, I like this, and I think wherever this is going, it's going to be a tough outcome wise because I think both of them could need the win, but it's going to be a good match and good feud. I kind of like how Ali hides behind the Secret Service too. Kind of makes him that bitchy heel, pansy little heel. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with those two and Ali.
Ali's just building a portfolio. So when he does have an opportunity for a title shot, he's a believable opponent because he beat so and so, and then when he, even if he doesn't go over later down the road, maybe in a Genesis or whatever the case is, he's got a resume of beating who's who in the company right now. And also, you could continue. I know Cardona has a lot of feuds going outside in the independent scene with Shotzi Blackheart and so forth. That's a name I would love to see in the Knockouts division for TNA. Shotzi Blackheart. But my point is with Cardona, he could continue this feud with Ali in other independent scene and do promos and make this where and then their payoffs are in TNA television platform. It's a win-win there. Let's see if it goes, especially with Agent Zero at the end with the tree slam. We'll find out where that goes. With that as well,
I think is gonna get involved with something. I could definitely see. I don't think his in-ring debut or anything is gonna be like him versus Cardona, him versus Henry. But I definitely think that in the future, and honestly, when I mean the future, I mean the next couple of freaking weeks, after Emergence, leading up to Victory Road. I think that he'll do a tag team match with Ali. It'll be him and Ali versus Cardona and Hendry or some bullshit. But I think we'll see him in a tag team match first before we see him in singles competition. Yep.
All right. They still continue cooking. One thing that was cooking here was the Knockout Summit. Yeah, Santino Marella hosting the summit featuring all 4 of the women tag teams coming up. Of course, you represented by your current tag team champion, the Elegance brand. They are in Freeburg rules because we know Ash is one half of the tag team champions, but she is going to be in a triple threat knockouts at Heatwave for NXT's premium live event. In steps in M by Elegance. Maggie Lee will be representing Ash by Elegance in that tag team, representing the tag team. So I say Freeburg words. The Fabulous Freeburg would always change, or even the New Day. They will always change. 2 out of the 3 members will be participating in that defending of the title. Of course, Fatal Influence from NXT. You have Xia Li and Yingling Li as well. You also had the inspiration. Your thoughts? It just was going to tension was boiling. I got to, you know what? I appreciate it. We heard Maggie Lee on the microphone. You know, she's not. No many people know who she is, but she cut a good one. She spoke. It all led. You know, inspiration had the final words before getting in the blow on Fatal Influence. Fatal Influence letting them know that all the gold pretty much is NXT because NXT is the more superior brand right now on TNA's TV. They're holding all the golds and they're looking to add more. So, you know, personally, I said it with you, Chris. I think Fatal Influence walks out Knockouts champion tomorrow night and Emergence because it all helps the brand with all the titles. Fatal Influence will look even stronger, and now the TNA is rallying to get those titles off of NXT by Bound for Glory. Bound for Glory is like a redemption, you know, end game for TNA. You know, rallying cry, get those titles away from these talents. So it ends with the shenanigans with the brawl. Iconics doing some off the top rope splash and doing the moonsaults. I thought it was good. You know what? All right, the women got physical. The security guards were there for cushion. You know, for making sure they're safe. None of the ladies were hurt. It looked good. It made its point.
It made its point. I'll agree. To me, I kind of had a rough, not a rough time listening to it, but
That's fine.
I didn't think any like again. I like the competitors in this match, but I don't think their deliveries of their promos hit for
Okay, fair.
me to take any except Fatal Influence. Fatal Influence looked Jasmine Nix and Fallon Henley looked strong on the mic compared to everyone else. I don't think anyone else really. It's like I love you, Santino, with the goofy pronunciations and all that stuff, but you could have been a little more serious in making this match build up a little bit more serious too. Um, but I don't know. Maybe it was the delivery of the promos that each lady gave that just didn't deliver right and didn't make me invested. Um,
Okay.
but Fatal Influence, they looked good. They honestly looked good compared to the other ladies in the ring. I would not mind if they do walk out um tomorrow night with the Knockouts title. They looked good in the on the mic when they walked out. They looked like the stars of that Knockouts division, bro. When they walked out there, and like I'm not gonna lie, I like you saw the lot. I was like, I could like this is. I thought it was bad, and then Fatal like Jasmine. I was like, oh, like she sold me a little bit more. So give it to
Fair.
Fatal Influence at this point because they looked like stars. They looked better than from their entrance to their in ring or from their promos to when they even when the segment went off and they did that last little shot of them. I thought they looked. I thought Fatal Influence looked good in this segment. Everything else, they made their point across, like you said, and it wasn't bad. I'm not saying the idea of them getting in the ring and going at it. It was good. I'm not saying it's the delivery on how the tone of their promo. It didn't sell. It just didn't sell it to me. But Fatal Influence looked great, man. They looked like stars, and I wouldn't be surprised, like you said, if they win.
Hey, you fair with your point. I'm not gonna disagree, or I'm not going to disagree, or you know, it's your point. Here's one thing, boy, does it show you really need a performance center. That's the difference between T right now with rest with the WWE, and that's the benefit of having a performance center because you're polishing, you're sharpening their skill set, promo classes, in ring psychology. It showed. They did circles around the
Knockouts
ladies up,
don't
and
have
there's
strong
nothing wrong with
promos.
that. No, and
Who's
I
the
thought I
knockouts?
thought Ying Ying Lee's promo in her native language was fine. You know,
Yes.
we laughed. It was fine because
No, it was
you know
fine.
what? If you're comfortable, you know what she made us do? Stop and try to interpret. We didn't
Mhm.
know. I didn't know a word she said, but I had an idea. There was a passion. She
Oh,
delivered it
yeah.
with passion and authority. I got to
Mm.
give Ying Lee a lot of credit.
Absolutely.
Brooks, because she was trained under the E, how to get her promo and how to make you feel the yeah. And I was a little surprised with Brookside because she was under the E too, and her thing she didn't follow her partner up, and I was like, Tanya, come
Yes.
on,
Yes.
I'm rooting for them for being tag team champions, but just didn't follow her partner there. And
No,
right, and
and
then
even did Maggie Lee look comfortable to you on the mic?
no, but here's one thing I appreciate it. They threw her in the water of the pool, the deep end, and she dog paddled her way to swim. She tried dog paddling in the deep water.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I appreciate.
I give her
from
props too. Now let's talk. Okay, did the Iconics sell you? And again, no excuse. And I'm sorry. I'm not going to give an excuse to two veterans that have been in WWE and have been former Knockouts champions. I can't defend those two. They know better. That's what I'm saying. Like, when you looked at that segment and you saw Fatal Influence, like, they just outshined everybody. Yes. And they had the least experience out of everybody.
But they're the most coachable. They're the most coached. They're the most of all coached. Those.
Yeah, please.
That's the difference.
Look, this isn't a knock to anybody in the Knockouts division. Please tell me one person in the Knockouts division that can give you a convincing promo. Tessa Blanchard, but you all fucking hate her. But you all fucking hate her, and they won't let her speak. They won't let her get a word across. It's not like Dominic, where at one point, sometimes now it's just like to go along with the show. No, they generally don't even want to hear her out. So I can't even say Tessa Blanchard because you motherfuckers, and I don't mean to use that language, but it frustrates me to this day that you guys can't let any of the bullshit go because she should be the star of that Knockouts division from her look, from her promos, or anything. But no, this just proved to me that Tessa Blanchard needs to be. And I love Masha. I love Masha, but she's not a good promo. Dana, I love you. I
gave you one, but they don't see her as a world champion. Rosemary.
Her promo, I don't know. I don't want to get too ahead. I know you're probably going to go there at one point. I know we just got done talking about that, but her promo was better. Her promo was better than 90% of the people on the knockouts that I've seen leading up to Slammiversary and now.
Rosemary, great.
Rosemary. Promo. It looked believable. I mean, the laughing, that's a little that I'm not a little bit because Seth Rollins does it. But the deliverance, she'll do that and then she'll get serious again. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I might not like the last, but she gets right into it. Like, she snaps back into it and she keeps going. I liked Rosemary in that promo backstage. She looked legit. She looked at, I took her serious, more serious than I took anybody in that ring during that knockout segment. Even, like I said, we hate on, some people don't like Jasmine Nix being TNA Knockouts champion. I didn't like it at first, and I don't like the overall of it, right? Because she's under WWE. But who do you have in that Knockouts division that can play that role? That's not Tessa, because they're not ready for it yet. You have nobody
that could talk you in the building. Yes, now in ring, when the bell rings, we could have a different conversation.
Totally different. Masha's a beast.
Oh,
Ying Ying Lee's a fucking beast in the ring. They're all good.
Even Zaya, they're all good. They all are.
Zaya Brooks,
they are very
her father's
excellent, talented
NXT trainer, or one of them used to be in NXT or some shit like that. A trainer, she knows what she's doing. She's a second gen wrestler. I agree. This was strictly in ring. We'd be having a complete different conversation. But to convince me to watch you wrestle, or for you to talk me into anything, they don't have anybody besides Tessa Blanchard yet.
Not
yet. And they have them. They have them, but again, we don't see the knockouts. We don't see that. What we saw with the promo, all of them in the ring, do we really see that with the knockouts on TNA? No. We don't. And them being in front of live crowds don't help. They can edit all that shit out. If it's really that bad, they can edit. Who knows? There's probably, you know what I'm saying? There could be a whole other line or two that gets cut out. Like, what happens when they do get their TV deal? What happens when you can't take those cuts and all that stuff? You gotta have good promos. I'm not saying they don't, but it's the people. I don't know. I haven't found that here's knockout that has convinced me or anybody that this knockouts division is solid, which we know it is, but they don't have that one person that's like the guy, right? You have in the not naming trick, you have Joe Hendry, right? Yes. In the tag team division, you have the Hardys. X division,
This,
okay, you have a couple people, Leon now, but in the knockouts, you don't have anybody.
here's the thing, Chris. This is where they need to think about, and I know TNA does it. They're not afraid of doing it because they had Lars Hendrickson in and others, the manager. Thank goodness for George the Iceman, the personal concierge, because
Yeah.
Ash is
Yeah.
terrible in promos. She's the sweetest sweetheart in the world. Great woman, but she's not that person that talks you. She sounds a little bit like ditzy. No disrespect,
No, I
Ash.
know what you
You're
mean.
not. You're a mean. You're. I'm not. Your character, your wrestling persona sounds ditzy.
We're talking about
It's
Ash
not.
by Elegance, not Ash.
Yes. No,
Like
not you
that
personally.
that's what we're talking about. It doesn't deliver. That's why that's like that. Yes, thank God for the personal concierge. And that fucking role doesn't even exist anymore. Hell, that's a guy doing that role. Like, but bro, he is phenomenal.
The managers need it still
Like
in wrestling.
I don't just pop for him and yet for to be funny. Sometimes I do, I'm not gonna lie. But I generally enjoy what he brings to that knockouts division. I'm not even gonna say Ash by Elegance because he's the one doing the talking most of the time when Ash is in a feud. Ash and Heather Maggie, they're in a feud. He's doing the talking most of the time. He's the guy. Even we saw it on excuse me on NXT. It
Yes.
wasn't the Ash by Elegance that was back there with Ava when it could have been. It was the personal concierge.
Yeah.
So unless you're gonna put the strap on Tessa and have her be the face of the knockouts division, which you guys clearly aren't ready yet, and clearly TNA isn't ready yet, they're gonna have this problem. Unless Masha, I love you. You are phenomenal. You are such a good wrestler. You are beautiful as hell. Cut the indie shit out and start working on your freaking promos.
Maybe have her showing her having her show up at NXT. Like we saw her this past Tuesday. Different perspective of different coaches. It doesn't mean
Yeah.
that they have to be under the WWE umbrella. Sometimes a little different coaching. Look, NXT, they have one of the greatest coaches, but they have no problem sending their wrestlers to reality of wrestling to work not
No.
just with Booker T, but with Booker T's coaching staff and Pro Solutions. They just sent Jada Parker there. Last Legend was there last couple summers ago, and she's turned her Trick Williams 2 years ago before he went on the Trick
Bro, AJ
run.
still doing his shit with reality of wrestling.
That they still something in that down in Houston, Texas, with reality of wrestling helps. And when my point is working with different coaches, that's why NXT sends some of them to work with Dreamer and Ace Steel and others on TNA. They're so you connect. Sometimes you don't hear your own home prophet's voice. You have to go outside of the land to listen to the prophet preach to you. And I think that's they need that a little bit. Maybe Marsha needs that. Like you said, cut a little bit of the independent stuff. There is some bad habits that you could pick. I'm not saying all independent wrestling is terrible. No. There's some good stuff there. There's a lot of gems. There's a lot of diamonds in the gems. But the art of the promo, the psychology, the storytelling, WWE helps you for that television market because now TNA is getting into that television market. Maybe they need that help and working a little bit like Joe Henry. Joe Henry went to work in the Performance Center. He went to train for a while there. And look where Joe Henry has elevated himself now, where he's at. Yes, is there double standards? WWE investing in Joe Henry because they're going to give him a contract at the end of the year and be his property. Okay, there's double motives, but it won't hurt to do that with a Marsha Slamovich, with others, with others, with the ladies. Maybe that's something that TNA needs to hire someone to help later down the road. I don't know, if that was Gail Kim's issue or her role that they cut out. I don't know. We don't know the logistics of who had what. Maybe they need to be. I know Jazz is there, but Jazz with the in ring and the psychology of the work rate, Jazz is great. I don't remember. Tell me when I remember Jazz promo that was like I could still remember it. I don't.
Exactly. And look again. None of the I don't know what the knockouts division. I don't know. Maybe it was Gil Kim. I don't know. They don't have that person there. That's even anywhere, right? Because like I don't want to get back on. I don't want to talk about what these wrestlers doing indie shows, right? Again, I don't. We love the indies. We love talking to the talent. I'm not here. What I'm about to say has nothing to do is not a diss towards independent wrestling because I love it. I love it. Hell, I love talking to you guys. I really respect your guys' hustle. Now, my problem is this. When you're Amasha, I'm using her as this example because I'm talking about her and talking about somebody who she's essentially made it, right? I don't like she's well known. She's in TNA, the third, second, whatever biggest company in the world appearing on WWE. She's made it. She needs to worry about stuff that's going to help her, right? And I understand with my problem with independent, not my problem, but the thing about it is, right, is no storytelling. You don't cut promos. You do social media posts and videos to promote the match, right? But you're not getting a microphone in front of the crowd and cutting your promos. It's more about matches. So when they're doing all this other stuff, I don't know. I feel like you could be using that time to work on your promos, be with a coach or Tommy Jr., somebody, instead of taking those bookings and trying to get a 5-star indie match. You're on a point in your career where you're on national television. You need to not cater, but like you need to get us in. You need to make us feel you need to get a whole new audience that might not be familiar with you to make you like you. That's what wrestling. That's why I love these wrestling characters, right? They do stuff. They say things that you could relate to or whatever. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if that makes sense or what. But
no, I think what's happening with these talents like Marsha and others, they want to pay it back to. They understand
that's what
the
I'm
struggle.
saying too.
They understand the struggle to be an independent wrestler and finally making it, and they want to not forget where they went.
Yes.
The mats, the locations, the arenas, the venues up and down the United States, East Coast, New York City, whatever the case, tri-state area. They want to still go back and say thank you because I made it this big, and I want to give you my thanks and pay it back and give my knowledge to the people that are hungry and say, you know what? You guys are wrestling here. Some people joke for a hot dog and $20, but guess what? You can make it like me. So come on in the ring, and I'm gonna have to get you to help you get there, which I totally respect. But it hurts with the next one they need to go cut. I don't know how is it. There's got to be a happy medium when you have your cake and eat it too when it comes to that, and that's what we're asking. Learn how to find that, and we're asking a lot because it's a lot to be on live TV. It's a lot of pressure, a lot of but if you make it, godly, you're going to do it's a slippery slope. We'll see where that goes with the knockouts division, the tag team tomorrow night, and so forth. We're in the halfway part of the show tonight.
Yeah, sorry, but I kind of went all along about that.
No. We're good. We're the halfway of the card where we have the match here with Mike Santana and Eric Young. Eric Young accompanied by the Northern Armory, Travis Williams and Icarus. We knew if Santana, People's Champion, comes to the crowd, I always ride and die with Mike Santana no matter what. He's my champ. He's my guy. That's the guy I'm going behind. He comes in through the crowd. Boom. You called it. Eric Young attacked him right on the spot. The match started hot.
He looked at him. I was like, oh, dude, he's going to kick his ass right now.
Because he's trying to put the pedal to the metal to Santana. They're forging Santana. If Santana's the standard, you're going to make him elevate the standard. And Santana, good match there. I thought the guys, we saw the shenanigans with the Northern Army on the outside. The Santana wipes him out with that over the top moonsault, taking out both Northern Armory. I'm like, yeah, let's go, Mike. You real. He's out there wrestling. Good move there. I love how they got to the finish where Eric Young went for a mishap, and Santana just got him with the spin the block off of that, and boom, got the victory. Wasn't a long match. They went to the point. It was a hard hitting. They beat each other's ass, but it wasn't a long match. But it got to the point, Chris. They didn't overbook it. But after the match is over, the Northern Armory comes out, starts beating up the numbers game 3-on-1. Out comes the Death Machine. Sally Callahan comes out for the save. Your thoughts on Sammy tomorrow night takes on Mike Santana. If he does not win, he will leave his boots there. He wants to know if he still has it, if he still has the standard of TNA. But we'll talk about another promo with the Death Machine backstage. He cut that promo, but before that, your thoughts on the Santana Eric Young match? Did he forge him well? Did he prepare him? Did he season our guy Mike Santana?
Yeah. I think this is actually the best match of the night. And I'm not being biased because of Santana. I think it was it didn't end quick and it wasn't too long, right? It wasn't one of those matches like we saw in the tag team match with Indy and kind of in the beginning, right, where it was like, oh, the dude hit his finish or they hit their finisher right away. We kind of knew the match was ended. No, they kind of got you, invested with some late kickouts, especially with the one where Eric Young hits his elbow and kind of that one with Santana. I thought that was the end, but they got us. They got us. And so that
Yeah,
was one
that
of the
was a
better
near fall
matches.
finish there.
Yeah.
Woo.
So that was one of the better matches on the card for sure. And Eric Young, like he says, right? He's dude, do you want to talk about and we had this conversation when I talked about, homegrown talent. Frankie and Eric have been with TNA since I was a kid, bro. I was watching Eric Young and TNA when I was a kid. Like to see him still doing it right now, and he's not a selfish dude. He could probably be, he probably doesn't really need to be wrestling right now. Maybe he loves it, and probably can't go anywhere. That's a different story. But it's he's helping these people. He's having good matches. He's on Impact every week. Even if it's not in the ring, he's backstage doing a segment like a shoot or movie type of scene thing with talent. So I think this is a perfect match. It was a good match, perfect opponent for Santana to go against. Obviously, it makes sense with kind of the history with Eric Young, Sammy Callahan, and again, I know we talked about this. It's just a simple fact of, well, Santana, there's going to be a point in the match tomorrow where Sammy's, it's going to be intense, and Sammy's going to be like, just do it, finish me, like, will Santana, beat up
Shawn
one of his
Michaels, Ric
best
Flair.
friends
I was in that
to
build. I was there. Shawn
to
Michaels,
finally
Ric
get
Flair.
what he
I
wants?
love you.
That exactly that moment, right? So at WrestleMania where you switch in music them and that's the end. So it's kind
That
of
was
gonna I
great.
could see something like that happening. And it's just gonna test Santana's, what will he do? What can he do to make sure he gets that TNA knock or TNA world title? But no, great match.
Great match. And then Sammy Callahan cuts a promo later on in the evening of the show where Eddie Edwards interrupts him and say, you hit me, broke my face with a bat. They've talked about their wars with one another. I don't think you're gonna, you don't have to prove anything. You're a death machine. Go out there and be a death machine. If you do lace them up, let it be. It was a great rally call from
Yeah.
Eddie Edwards. He says, "Me and you've been here for years." Like you were talking about OGs of
Yep.
TNA, and he mentioned that. Callahan, Eddie Edwards, Eric Young,
Eddie Edwards is
Frankie
another
Kazarian,
OG man. Yep.
Frankie Kazarian, Eric Young. You talk, you could even put heck. I know he's trained and he trained in NXT, but even Steve Macklin, and we'll talk about him in a second. I consider him OG TNA. For me personally, I think when I think of Macklin's career, I think of TNA. But all in all, we'll find out what the Death Machine happens tomorrow with Mike Santana. We'll be invested on it. Let's talk about that since I brought it up. Was that King speech? Frankie Kazarian with that segment, the King speech, is supposed to be like the Jericho
That's
segment
what I
with
was
the
gonna say.
comment. It felt like that. It felt, yeah. Only needed was a pad and paper to make the list with the pen. I joked on that on our watch along. Out comes Jake something. Then Steve Macklin. He goes to interview. He asks a question to Jake something. No questions, no nothing out of Jake something, just staring a hole right through Macklin. And then he asks Macklin. Macklin looks at him and stares a hole back at him. These two guys are intense. The intensity is so thick you could cut it with a knife. But Kazarian kept pushing. And then finally, Macklin takes the microphone, telling him, I want to say something that I think everybody in the arena wants to shut the hell up. It escalated where both men, the shenanigans with the fisting, I personally looked at that and I go, all right, it's a filler moment. Something for Frankie Kazarian to do. Because it didn't this match after that disqualification and they announced an ODQ for that, I was already sold. It didn't need much for me to want to buy, or let's say buy tickets to that match. I was already sold. To me, it was more of a filler. Let's remind these guys the intensity of these guys, who they are. But here's my one caveat. What does Frankie Kazarian has to do with this match? He was on commentary last week for their match. He invites him on this platform. Is Kazarian going to be an interference or a key player tomorrow night between these two men in that international title?
Well, To answer your question, yes, I do. I think he'll be next up. Who depending on whoever wins. But I have nothing much to add really. Because you mentioned a good point that kind of I agree with, right? Where it's like you didn't need this for me to sell me on this match, and that's what this international title's kind of about. I mean, we kind of just went on a spiel about promos, right? You have that, but when you know
Fair.
Macklin and Jake something, it's like I don't want to, the wrestling speaks for itself, but it's like
You also want to hear from
we
them as well. So
you want to hear from them as well, right? So that's kind of why I didn't mind this because I know we kind of just did that thing on promo. So it's like you want to hear from them as well. Um, but it also made sense that they didn't say anything either, right? Because especially with Steve Macklin, he's more of a let's get it going, let's fight, let's fight. And Jake something, really. They're kind
let
of
me
the
ask
same
you this,
mentality.
Chris.
So yeah, go ahead.
Let me ask you this real quick. If it wasn't Frankie Kazarian holding the microphone for that interview, if it was Gia Miller, would you pay attention and go wait? And would it resonate?
I don't think so
Okay.
because I mean, yes and no. Yes, because obviously it's an interview. Like we would know it's more them two together, like Jake something and Steve Macklin. We kind of know it's like them talking to each other. But with Frankie, he adds a different kind of perspective because
Okay. Fair.
he's somebody that could get involved with this match and kind of be a reason of an outcome. He could also be the next guy in line to which I think Steve Macklin's going to win. He could also be next to fight Steve Macklin, which is a good match. Like I said right. I want this title to be featured on a PLE, and I want this title to fucking mean something. I don't think putting Frankie in that position does anything. It's better than him being in the world title scene. Me and you thought that was going to happen at one point too.
Yes.
Would you rather have Frankie Kazarian in that spot and Mustafa Ali? So it's like I don't mind that. That's why I say yes and no. Because with Gia Miller, it's like, okay, she's an interview, like this is her job. She's she's trying to sell the match between this two. But with Frankie, it's like this guy adds a whole different perspective on the match itself, on the outcomes. Gia's just more there to get those two guys heated with each other. So that's why I say yes and no.
Okay. I like it. Okay, I understand. I hear that. And main event time. Main event time, of course, we get the 6-man tag. You've got but baby faces, by the way. It's Cedric Alexander, the
Yeah.
Rascals, teaming up of taking on the Hardys with their adopted Hardy brother in Leon Slater.
Yeah, I know, right? How many times are we gonna fucking see Leon Slater and the Hardys team up?
Hey, I have no problem because
I
those
got
match
no problem with it either.
they're
Man.
entertaining. And also, you could have the young buck and Deion Slater be the workhorse with the young
Right.
Hardys come in and do their hits, Twist of Faith, Whispering the
Exactly.
Wind, Side Effect. We got all of that. The hits from the Hardys. Cedric Alexander continues to be impressive. If you talk about a guy that made the right move to be featured on a TV on a show, he's being featured here. He would have been lost in the sauce. He would have been the fourth guy in the membership of the club there with MVP and stuff. And who knows what, yeah, they would have been, maybe he would have been booked on an all-star challenge or something, 8-man all-star challenge for some fictitious money, but here he's being featured tonight. And all in all, great match. Marlon Reed has stepped in wonderfully for Trey Miguel. Trey Miguel, get well soon. Seriously, and also Casey Navarro, like we mentioned earlier. The injury bug has hit TNA with some of their top superstars. Hopefully, you guys get back better than ever. Please, return, as well as Kyla King. We haven't forgot about Kyla King as well. He was out for an injury, get back well as well. And speaking and then seeing that matchup and getting the lumbar crack for the victory from Cedric Alexander was absolutely shocking because Leon Slater, right? This is gonna be his first defense, but there is no slouch in Cedric Alexander. First, he's a 205 champion, a world, tag team champion. There's some pedigree and a veteran and not even an older veteran in a Cedric Alexander. So Leon Slater is gonna get tested right off the bat where they won that X Division title tomorrow night.
I'm gonna be honest, bro. This is something that, like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, I love that we're getting this match right away, but it's like this is a big match for that X Division. It's like, who else are you gonna throw after I would love these two guys to run it back and do a little trilogy because in my perfect world, I want that X division to run around, Cedric, KC when he gets back, Leon, even Mustafa,
Swan.
Rich Swan. So like that X division has a future. So it's
Mhm.
like that's a big match already, but I love it. I love it because Cedric again. We got to witness Mustafa and Cedric live, right? Like
Oh yeah.
Cedric's one of those dudes that he's never obviously he's not known for character or being the best superstar, like if that makes sense. But like he's a fucking great
He's
wrestler.
entertaining. He's an
He's
entertaining
entertaining.
wrestler.
He is, and he's an entertaining wrestler with his moves.
Mm-hmm.
So I again, but so is Leon. Leon has a little work to do. He's a little young, with the suit, but they both work so well in the ring, entertaining with their moves. You know that those moves that Leon does, right? He just did tonight where he does that thing over the ropes and he like spins like, and then Cedric does that cool thing where he's really good at reversals to make it like flips with the knees. Like it's a good match. This is a big match. So it's going to be a challenge for Leon. I actually don't know who wins this match. Obviously, I want to say Leon. You don't want to give it right away, but it's like Cedric's. I'm not gonna sit here and say Leon's buried because he loses to Cedric. Fuck,
No.
run it back again.
Right. If Cedric wins the X Division title, I'm not
Run
gonna
it
I'm
back.
not gonna find Leon Slater's defense to be transitional or
No, he's
poor.
a young kid up and coming.
Right.
He's
And this
going
guy's
against
a veteran.
he's going against the OGs. Like if anything, this is one of the rare occasions, not rare, but rare occasions to where you can have a guy like this who's lose, and he's gonna get so much sympathy for losing, and people's gonna want to be on him again because, bro, he's 20 years old.
Yeah,
like he's 20 years old. Like he's
you
not
could
even
get behind the chase on him.
Exactly. So I think it works well. Again, the Hardys and Rascals. The Hardys kind of speak for themselves, and the Rascals kind of do as
Any
well.
chance the Nemets? They've been quiet. I know. Nick has been suspended, but any chance that I know Ryan is taking on the hometown man, but any chance do we get any shenanigans? Because the Nemets want their tag team title matchup, which probably for Victory
Nick told
Road.
us that when we interviewed him.
Mm-hmm.
He told us that too on our interview when we interviewed him a couple weeks ago. Shout out to Nick Nemeth. He said him and his brother won another shot at that tag team title. So it's hard because Ryan Nemeth already has a match, like you said, against the hometown man. So I won't see I don't think anything tomorrow really necessarily, but I could and again they're getting ready for Bound for Glory with the
Don't forget
Hardys.
Victory Road is they got the Dudleys they got to worry about, but also don't forget.
I'm not forgetting about Victory Road, but when it comes, trust me, I'm not. Trust me, we're the only ones to see that remember Victory Road. we're the Sports Jedi Network is actually one of the only places that remembers Victory Road's a thing. All right, because I don't even think TNA themselves really give a fuck about it. But the reason why I bring up about this specific match again. It's advertised Dudley Boys Hardys one more time tag team title. I don't even look at the Hardys. Don't even compete at Victory Road. Is it really? They're good. Obviously, Canada's obviously going to want to see them. So if they want to put the Nemesis in there with the Hardys, sure. Because Canada's going to want the Hardys. You don't have a fucking pay-per-view without them on the show anyway. Them missing it doesn't hurt, but. So yes, yeah, I see him. If you want to do that Victory Road to get them ready for the Hardys and all that stuff, yes. I personally think the Nemesis should get another run at it. So that's why I would say no, but yes and no. Yes, you can still do it to get ready for the Dudleys, and they can even, do it after. I prefer them to do it after. Now they're going against the Rascals on Emergence, so I don't really think we would see a Rascals type thing again. Why can't we see Rich Swann and AJ at Victory Road?
You know what? I like that. I like your thinking.
And then say the Nemesis after Bound for Glory. Because we know the Hardys are going to beat the Dudleys. It's not a... So put Rich Swann and AJ in there for Victory Road or something.
Oh, I don't mind seeing that. Yeah, look at that. Love that there. I want to make the statement where seeing the height, the body type of Cedric Alexander. And this is just I was thinking about him and get well because he had a little bit of a medical issue, a scare. If Jonathan Gresham was Cedric Alexander's body type, a height, this guy would probably be
Yeah.
the next bigger than Taz. A big a big TNA superstar, and world champion, where marketable. It's not. Again, it's something. He just doesn't fit the bill because he's a little short. He's a hell of a freaking wrestler, man. Awesome dude.
Yeah.
If he has Cedric's build height wise, my God, Grisham would have been is a beast already. This guy would have been into a mainstream superstar beast. And that's just a hot take. I was just thinking about that for Gresham. I mean, he just fits. He just looks it when he has an aura. Even at currently where he's at. It just, man, that's just a hot take that just came in my head. All in all, though, wanted to say this. Tomorrow, Emergence, we'll have the watch along on our playback app. So check out our playback app, Heal the Ring, Sport Jedi Network. We'll definitely have that where you can watch with us Emergence. We're not going to do SmackDown, but we'll keep an eye on it. I'll have it on another screen, keeping an eye on it. If anything happens, we'll talk about it while Emergence happen, but we're going to be focused on Emergence here. All in all, solid TNA show, despite the fact it was taped weeks ahead behind. I'm not gonna. You know what? Those 2 hours went like this. To me, these 2 hours went quicker than sometimes Friday Night SmackDown. And Friday night, I don't have to get up the next day. I'm off from work. I'm ready. It's Friday night. Yada yada. It felt really tonight. Like most of the TNAs go pretty smooth.
Yeah.
I think it's the way they space the commercials. When the match is over, to go to commercial. You're not like in the middle of a moonsault, can he get back? And then you're out emotionally, and then you gotta wait. And then sometimes you go to Twitter, you get distracted. But when you watch TNA, you're watching the match because you're focusing, because you know you're gonna get the whole enchilada. And then they go to the break. All right, let me go. Like I go get something to drink. I gotta something or go scroll here. And then if the show comes back on, boom, it got your attention. I think that formula for TNA, at least for me as a viewer, as a consumer, as a content creator, all that in one, it captivates me, it holds my attention, and it grabs me to TNA, and the show goes quicker and smoother flow. That's just my opinion. I thought it was good. Good job there. One more thing, a lot making the news and notes. TNA is getting close. John Arba is reporting that there's a TV deal getting closer, ready to announce it pretty soon. Looks like there were some rumors that it might move from Thursday to Wednesday. I don't know how you feel about that.
That is a whole other subject. That is a whole other video.
We'll talk
God.
about that on Weekly Wrestling coming up.
Go on for a long time about
because
that.
it's a long, lengthy one. It's already close to. We got to get up. I got to get up at 3 to go to work, and it's just yes, I am a Monday to Friday, and that's coming up. I got to get there to finish the week. Personally, there's a lot of also kudos to Ace Austin. Looks like he has a contract with Elite Wrestling. Great job, man. Real happy for you that you're in a major company. I hope you got paid well, and I hope they use you, because I know you and Ricochet would do some good matches.
I know you and Kyle Fletcher would do some good matches, but
Kyle Fletch,
I'm afraid that they're gonna throw him at you already. So
yeah,
hopefully, I genuinely wish Ace Austin the best. I do.
Yeah, I definitely do. So hopefully the best for them, and so forth and so forth. And hopefully we'll see where everything goes. Of course, follow us on our social media platform at PGH Chris TV, at Sports Jedi Media. Follow us on Instagram as well, or our socials on YouTube. Like, share, and subscribe on our playback app, WordPress, and visit our website, www.sportsjedinetwork.com. See our pictures and our time at TNA's softball game and so forth. We have Carlos Silva on interviews there with Mike Santana, Nick Nemeth. With that said, guys, pasen buena noche. Have a great night, and may the sports be with you. And tomorrow's Friday, Feel Good Friday. Let's go.